Thank you. So, can you hear me? Is this on? Hello. Okay, I'm on. Hi everyone. Very nice to meet you. Good morning, and thank you for being here so bright and early. Always fantastic being in London. I would like to invite my fellow panelists on stage to make this panel possible. So I think they're just miking up in the back. So take your time, I guess. Maybe what I'll do is I'll start off with a quick introduction on myself. So when the panelists come on, you guys can introduce yourselves. So my name is Nikita Sachdev. I am the CEO and founder of Luna Media Corp. We're headquartered in Dubai, and we have offices in Miami, Singapore, and we are expanding our presence here in Europe, so looking to set up here by Q1 next year. We have a team of over 100 employees. Most of them are based out of Dubai, but our clients are pretty global. Last year, we acquired the franchise for Cointelegraph Middle East, so having a lot of fun running a crypto publication, very tough in this market. And I'm also the host of CNBC Arabia, so my COO over here in pink, she has been co-producing a show on CNBC Arabia called On the Chain, where we talk about Web3. It's the first ever Web3 and English show, hitting 50 million homes out of the Middle East. So that basically sums up what we do. Been in the space since 2017, started my crypto career with Huobi Exchange. So very much indulged in this, in the Web3 space, and now even looking into AI, trying to jump on the next trendy bandwagon. So it's always an honor to be here at the Agora conference. We've been media partners with Agora since 2018 in Dubai. Very happy to see them coming to London. Recently, there's been a lot of news about the regulatory framework here in London. So I do believe that the UK could be the next global crypto hub. Based on the political, kind of the regulatory reform that's happening here. Yeah, fingers crossed. Crypto is not seen as gambling anymore here, which is quite good. Maybe not so good for taxes. But I think my panelists are ready. I'll stop rambling on. If you can please come up on stage. And welcome, everyone. Good timing. I think I was going to bore everyone with my regulatory conversation.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
More.
Okay, awesome. Cool. So maybe we can start off with a quick introduction down the line, and then we'll open the discussion about gaming.
Cool. Should I start?
Yep,
Yeah.
starting from you.
Morning, everyone. Baptiste, so founding partner at LeadBlock Partners. We're a venture capital fund based in London and Paris, investing in blockchain and Web3 for the last 5 years now. And more specifically, we really look at B2B in the space. And we're here to talk about gaming, so I'll just focus on that. I mean, we're pretty bullish about gaming. We've been looking at how do we use it to democratize adoption of blockchain technology, and how do we make it easier for games to actually launch on-chain. So just a couple deals we've done is Venly, for example, so dev tools for gaming studios. We've done Yuga Labs, which is Bored Apes, the other side that you guys know. We've done Hex Trust in Custody with Animoca, which I understand are a partner of the event as well. And I guess the last one, Remaster in IP. And as you know, there's a ton of IP in games. You should protect it. Maybe you should monetize it. Maybe you should leverage it as well. And we can talk about that later. So pretty bullish about that area, although there are challenges, and I think you're going to ask about them. So excited to be here.
Hey guys, Jamie. I work at BITKRAFT Ventures. We're an early stage gaming and interactive entertainment investment firm. We've been investing in games since 2016, so originally started on the traditional side. Now we manage about $830 million in capital across sort of 3 different strategies. We've got a growth fund focusing on later stage opportunities. We have 2 early stage equity funds investing in your traditional game studios, adjacent technology. And then over the past sort of 3.5 years, we've been investing in Web3. So we've raised 2 funds, which make up about 1/4 of our AUM, specifically focused on Web3 gaming. So we've made about 50 investments in the space, and still actively deploying. So super excited to speak about gaming today.
Hi, everyone. This is Jingyu Xiang. I work at YGG Ventures, which is a new fund spin-off from Yield Guild Games. And we are still trying to focusing on investing in Web3 gaming and metaverse-related infrastructures.
Hi, Patrick Martin. I am an investor in blockchain since about 7 years, and I'm investing directly from my family office, but also I'm a GP at Alpha Sigma Capital, which is a blockchain Web3 focused family of funds. We have a venture fund, we have a liquid fund, and we're doing another venture fund. So we have quite a few gaming investments. I like the Web3 space a lot because it's sort of an access technology for people to enter crypto. So I think if Web3 gaming does well, crypto as a whole will do well. So it's a good combination.
Great, awesome, thank you. Some amazing panelists here today. So basically today our panel is on blockchain gaming, make it or break it. And the reason we're saying make it or break it is because through this bear market, we've seen a lot of changes happen. There's always an evolution, and we've seen the rise of play-to-earn games and the flow of gaming projects that entered the Web3 space, and a lot of them that have also left the Web3 space. So I guess this panel is to talk about an overview on the gaming industry, which is a huge industry, multi-trillion dollar industry. So we're going to talk about the future of it and what kind of impact it has within the Web3 space itself. So to start off, I would like to give an overview on the blockchain gaming space. Can you tell us what exactly is blockchain gaming and how does it differentiate from Web2 traditional gaming? And anyone can take this.
Yeah, happy to do that. So I think there's a sort of a spectrum which we see in blockchain gaming. I think the fundamental principle is having a portion of the game exist on chain. So whether that be just the asset, sort of using it as a database, and then being able to tap into some of the functions of blockchain, being able to trade assets permissionlessly instead of having everything exist in this closed off database. So that opens up potentially new monetization opportunities. So monetizing secondary markets and being able to have sort of that encoded in the smart contracts. There's also the other end of the spectrum, which is picking up a lot of steam right now, sort of this concept of on-chain games where basically the whole game logic sits on-chain. So rather than having sort of the client sit off-chain where you have access to way higher compute, you're putting everything on-chain, which means the game is effectively going to exist forever because as long as the blockchain's running, the game will exist. People will be able to engage with those smart contracts. Obviously, the tech quite isn't there yet to support mainstream adoption of sort of the latter, but that sort of gives a fundamental overview of the range of blockchain gaming.
Okay, and does anyone want to add on to that?
Yeah, probably just add on that in terms of on-chain gaming, probably you can think it's a really good example that how Web3 gaming or blockchain gaming can be different from like a traditional games. As Jamie mentioned before, like say a fully on-chain gaming, which is fully decentralized, and it's not only about the assets or currencies on-chain, it's also their game principles and the logics can also be on-chain. And so that is how it differs from like in Web2 gaming where developer develops the game, while in fully on-chain game or probably some blockchain games that UGC where community members were like professional, other professional developers can also build up on top of that. So it's not like a centralized developer process. So it can be, so that is one outstanding features that how Web3 gaming can be different from Web2 gaming.
Right. Okay. So not to play devil's advocate, because obviously I love anything that's decentralized and I get it, but what is the purpose of being decentralized? Like how does that actually affect the end user?
Yeah, I would say the end user doesn't care
to
start with. Gaming is mainly entertainment, and if the games are not entertaining, the play-to-earn thing is, I think, the pure play-to-earn where the games were not really entertaining is, I think that's kind of declining right now. What gamers need is they want to be engaged and entertained, and then if they can then they can have ownership in the game, that will make it more interesting for them. But I think if we want to get mainstream adoption for Web3, in-game, we need to have entertainment first. Gameplay is the most important thing. And then if they can earn, and they can earn, play to earn or play to win while they're entertained, that's amazing. But if you're not entertaining them, they're gonna go away. So if we have a game on chain that is technically possible, but nobody likes the game, then it's basically going to be empty, right? That's the problem also with the metaverses, which I would include in gaming, right? Because it's really entertainment. So if you have entertainment features anywhere, then people will come. If they're entertained, they will play, and then if they can earn, and then you can build economies on top of that. So I think that's the second step. The technology for the gamer is really unimportant. Unless they're like Web3 degens where they say, okay, I really care about decentralization, yeah. But I think most gamers care about gameplay, and then eventually they'll care about ownership, and then they say, okay, I can own this piece of game, and then I can build on top of that, and then the economies can evolve. But I think entertainment is first.
Tying to your last 2 points, completely agree. It's also like high level when you go back to what blockchain is trying to do. That analogy of Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, where Web 1 is read, write, and then you get read, write, own. In the end, you can apply that to gaming in a space where people, are huge fans of games, provide a lot of content, do a lot of work, the communities are super strong. And so if you can give those community more power to control the game, they'll play more, and they'll be more involved, and they'll create even more value for the studio. So if you can find a way to reward them, to give them governance and control, then it would be super powerful. And yeah, blockchain is a great way to do that.
That's a good way to put it. And I like, Jamie, how you said, Patrick, how you said that the games should be focused on entertainment first. We saw a rise of play to earn last year, especially through our PR agency. It was like every day a new play to earn game. And Axie Infinity had really set the stage for being one of the most successful play to earn games. And what happened was, in some nations, there were kids that were making more than their parents were through this gaming. So it was amazing, right? Revolutionary. However, eventually it kind of started a new form of child labor, where a few kids were kind of put together and forced to play these games, and it almost sucked the fun out of these games. Like, it almost became, it's my job, like I need to play to earn. And so people started evolving this to play and earn. Do you think that there's a much sense in this evolution? And even Jamie, you mentioned this monetization aspect, right? When I was saying what are the benefits of Web3 gaming, it was monetization. So do you think Web3 gaming, when it comes to this monetization, is actually sucking the entertainment out of the games?
I think sort of the Gen 1 games, definitely. Like, you look at Axie, you look at all these games where sort of, effectively they were doing user acquisition through token emissions and spending a ton of money unprofitably to acquire users, retain users. So I think that sort of element is going to be gone. It's understand people wanted to capture the opportunity, they wanted to rush products to market. Games take a long time to build. I think earning in gaming is not new. People have been earning in RuneScape. Like, there's been sort of a Venezuelan economy in particular that have been selling gold and farming gold and doing these laborious tasks within games. And I think that's always going to exist. People have always been able to monetize gaming. There's ways to earn money in games. And I think crypto and blockchain provide a really interesting infrastructure to build these sort of economies on top of and eliminate a lot of frictions. Like, you look at RuneScape, you'd have to take your money to these like secondary black markets, risk getting your account banned and stuff like that. And I think if game developers start to build games with that in mind and understand there's going to be different stakeholders within games, there might be people from lower income countries who want to grind and gather resources, so that people from first world countries with a bit higher spending power, they don't want to go through sort of the laborious like game progression. They just want to get to the fun stuff, the battling. They want to level up quickly, and they're willing to pay to do that. And sort of that's where the exchange of value goes, instead of from these tokens. If it's from player to player and you're running like a net zero sort of emissions, then I think you can have these earning opportunities emerge in these games. But I think it's going to be very difficult. There's going to be many iterations. I think we'll see sort of a good content cadence over the next 18 months of games with a bit deeper gameplay mechanics that might cater to a broader set of player types, that might be able to support actual sustainable earning in games. But again, it's an economic problem, and it's going to take a long time to solve.
So you mentioned these were Gen 1 games. Where are we at now? Are we at Gen 2? Like, what is the next trend in the gaming space, in GameFi or blockchain gaming in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think, at least from our portfolio, we're seeing a bunch of really talented game developers, people who've had success, built, hit games in Web 2 that started building 2.5, 3 years ago, and now sort of they're coming to open beta launch sort of in September, and then there's a good cadence through of all the studios we've been looking at sort of over the next 18 months, where we'll see some really strong attempts at blockchain gaming that will, hopefully be able to compete on product with their Web 2 counterparts, and hopefully be able to, bring in a new set of users into the space that want to play the game first. And the way most of them have designed their games is sort of to layer in the crypto elements later on. So you basically play the game, they're going to try and get you hooked. Once they can see you've spent 100 hours in the game, they're going to start to introduce you to crypto elements, onboard you with a wallet, et cetera. And hopefully that starts to get people comfortable with using crypto. And then user acquisition in games will be a bit easier after that. But yeah, I'm excited for the next 18 months. I think that'll sort of be when we prove the thesis. If people want to play blockchain games, if it adds, new monetization abilities, et cetera. So.
Personally, I like the aspect of keeping the crypto part even optional, like not just even introducing it later, but keeping it there in case, and keeping the NFT aspect optional too. You mentioned NFTs in gaming too. Let's talk about Web3 gaming in general, so not just blockchain gaming. What I mean by that is aspects of AI, implementing the metaverse into these games. What are trends that you're looking for overall in Web3, not just in blockchain, in terms of gaming?
I think that Web3 gaming ultimately should be about ownership, so that so we introduce ownership into gameplay, and then ideally interoperability, so that you can take your, let's say you take your character or your avatar from one game and you can export it and put it in another game, or go with that character to the metaverse, or that, let's say that ship or that NFT that you've basically worked on, and then so you basically that would be sort of a good goal. I think the metaverse is, as I said, I'm considering metaverse as a form of gaming, and the metaverse will not succeed if there's no entertainment, right? So entertainment and gaming is the main form of why people come back. So yeah, I think interoperability is important, and then ownership is important. So Web3 is about ownership, right? And so once people understand that they can own building blocks, and then they can take those, and when they become sort of decentralized and they actually own it, they can do things that nobody thought about. So that's kind of when you open these games up. That's right now, the Web 2 games, they're all walled gardens, they're very closed, and you can only play inside the game, one game economy. And of course, opening them is, that's a business decision, right? So it's a bit scary maybe, especially for the big brand gamers, but once you do that, I think you can then you can see new things developing that we didn't even think about. So that's when real economy happens, right? When ownership is transferred to the user, then the user can build on top. But I agree with, in the beginning, I mean, one of our portfolio companies, Balthazar, they've developed a zero-click onboarding. So you basically click into a game, you start playing the game, you don't even know that you have a wallet, because they just create a wallet in the background. And then only when you stop playing the game, they ask you if you want to keep playing, then they ask you for your email address, but the wallet is already there. So the Web3 element is really in the background, but you can earn and you can generate income or NFTs, and then, later on you can, when you understand it better, you say, oh, I already own this stuff. So it's kind of like the technology aspect needs to be in the background, and it's important when people understand the ownership element, that they can then do something with the elements that they have. But if they just want to play the game and not worry about it, that should also be fine, right? So it should be optional.
And I think, I mean, all of us have seen a huge change in the types of deals and games coming to market. You're asking about the types of Gen 2, etc. I mean, I think no one's pitched me a real play-to-earn game in a long time now. People say play-to-own. They talk about, onboarding, so we can onboard Web2 users without a crypto wallet. You don't have to, oh, please, yeah, go to MetaMask. You've already lost 99% of the players at that point. You know, they talk about, you know, the quality of the game. They talk about the NFT price not going to the moon. They talk about all these things, which, you know, 2 years ago was the whole point. So all this completely changed. I think we're going towards actual real gaming, and we're targeting actual gamers in the actual countries and regions where you have big gaming markets. And if you look at the users of the historical play-to-earn games, they simply weren't in gaming markets. So I'm not sure I would call it gaming, actually. So when you have people saying, okay, play-to-earn is dead, I'm like, yeah, I agree. But it's not gaming, it's dead. To me, it's two different markets.
Absolutely.
So it was just, you know, and I think big picture, you know, this space always suffers from speculation. You know, we speculate on layer ones, on DeFi, on NFTs, on, you know, we'll speculate on anything we can get our hands on, which is both a positive and a negative. And I think gaming was one of them. But hopefully, and I agree, and we're seeing great games coming out in the next 6 to 12 months, and I'm really, really bullish on that.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about having strong quality. We talked about not just attracting people for incentive, but having a good entertainment factor to blockchain gaming. What are other aspects that investors look for? Maybe Jingyu, you can answer that.
Yeah, definitely a lot. Like when every time when you do due diligence, there are lots of aspects to consider. Firstly, is I would say the quality of the team. Do they have a relevant experience to develop the products? Essentially, the game is a product, it's a consumer product, right? So they have a relevant experience to deliver, to know how to actually develop a good game and good at like execution. And also, if they definitely make sense, say they have a good go-to-market strategy. Is there any innovation in the gameplay or tokenomics model, whatever? And so I would say, since YGG Venture really focus on pre-seed and seed at very early stage, so we put a lot of emphasis to understand what's the capability of the team and if they have the relevant experience in the field.
That's also some very good points. You cannot forget the tokenomics models and the community aspect of it, the go-to-market strategy. So you talked about having a strong development, but there are pioneers in the gaming industry, traditional gaming, that are looking to enter Web3. So how do the smaller budding developers compete with the big guys entering the space?
I mean, I think it was pretty easy to get funding if you were building a blockchain game for the past 2 years. So that's one element. I think just across gaming more generally, we're seeing AI present some interesting opportunities of like democratizing the ability to create sort of what we call AAA game content. So, you know, we've seen some of our studios have been able to significantly reduce the costs in their content pipeline, which is the biggest part about building a game. Like all the 3D assets, all the artwork costs a ton of money to build. So we're seeing sort of that element. I think for budding game developers competing with the major AAA studios, I think you just try and don't compete. Like I don't think any indie studio is going to be able to build a MOBA that competes with League of Legends. You're not going to be able to build a Battle Royale. Like even those companies, like even Fortnite's spending 150 million plus a year on content. So it's going to be just like impossible to compete with them and their content cadence, the depth they have. So I think just finding like new avenues, taking existing popular genres, putting a spin on them, being smart about how you outsource your artwork, et cetera, compromising on potentially artwork in the first iterations, focusing on the game loop, and then, you know, as you build traction, being able to upgrade your art content, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, one of our my portfolio companies, they are basically just building us like a mini game, because they basically say, okay, we can't compete on the Web3 on the blockbuster games because they cost hundreds of millions and they don't have that kind of money. So they're basically saying, oh, we're going to go lower on the sort of on the graphic sides and make the gameplay more interesting, right? So kind of that's a new concept where basically you play to win. So basically there's like big prizes, there's like a jackpot in the end. So the NFTs, they go in a pot, and then you can win like a Bored Ape, or you can win, I don't know, 10 ETH or some Bitcoin. So it's like more interesting prizes. So this is one way to do it. Another way to do it, and this is kind of a new thing we were just thinking about, is basically maybe finding older games that used to be very popular and that are less popular, and maybe kind of revitalizing them and kind of putting Web3 elements in it to make it more attractive, because I think gaming is very brand driven, so to create a new brand is very difficult. It's like a hit movie, right? Basically, if you have a hit movie and you make the second one and the third one, that's much easier. So that's one thing we're looking at, maybe kind of finding older games and then kind of that have a following or that have a brand, and then kind of upgrading them to Web3. Because I think that's this transition from Web2 to Web3. Games like Fortnite, I don't know if they already have NFTs in there, but I think it makes over time it makes sense for them to enable ownership in the game and to make things transferable. So I think for smaller players, I think those are some strategies I would.
Do they have NFTs? Does Fortnite have NFTs? Have they incorporated? What are some of the most successful use cases? We've seen Sony and Microsoft have entered Web3 blockchain gaming. But what are some mainstream games, mass adoption, that have incorporated the blockchain aspect?
I mean, all the studios have spun up, all the big studios have spun up Web3 divisions. You know, Ubisoft's actively working on 6-7 titles, leveraging the technology. I think in current market, it's a bit of a, for these big corporations that have these IPs that they can, you know, perpetually monetize, and they're making billions of dollars a year. Doesn't really make sense to take the PR risk at the moment, to be honest. I think people are building in silence, thinking about, you know, how they can actually leverage this technology. One company we invested in, CCP, which builds EVE Online, which is sort of this mass spaceship game that's existed over 20 years. A bunch of the technology CCP built got incorporated by like the NASDAQ and stuff. They had better market systems in that, like super strong team, super economic background. They're building their next game on crypto, on their own chain. So there are a bunch of people building it, but I think, you know, there's no need for them to be public about it. Gamers are super stubborn, so it's...
Saying that, you know, you mentioned that it's a PR risk, and again, just playing devil's advocate here, because gaming has been seen as a gateway to user mass adoption for the entire crypto market. But if it's a PR risk, then how come companies like Louis Vuitton have entered Web3 through NFTs, through their blockchain, Aura blockchain, to track counterfeits, Lamborghini, Formula One, all these other large brands have entered Web3 and gone out with PR, and then what's stopping larger gaming companies? How come we cannot name a single successful blockchain use case today? Why isn't there one out there?
It's no, we can't name a successful blockchain use case. It's just hard to name a big IP where blockchain has been combined with that IP in a big game franchise, because they're not willing to take that risk. You know, Epic Games behind Fortnite have launched NFT games, but they're new IP, new games, new communities. And as you say, gamers are stubborn. I think that's a nice way to put it. You know, they're an absolute pain. So if you change anything, they'll freak out. They have big communities, and it can endanger your IP and your cash flow. So, you know, Ubisoft tried it. I think it's 2021, right?
Yeah, they announced it.
It hurt them a lot. What they launched, it was Ghost Recon, I think.
Actually, you need to say, like, it's actually different. Like, for example, in Western big studios, say Ubisoft or EA, they are really, I'm not saying secret, but like they just don't do PR about that. But if you look at the Eastern studios, like especially in Japan and Korea, all the big studios there, they are actually doing lots of Web3 experiments, and that they actually do PR about that.
Absolutely, you're right, because we have one of our clients, We Made, is the largest game developer out of South Korea. They're a client.
Exactly. Like say in Japan, they have like a double jump. They are building up their own game-specific blockchain, or similar in Korea. So I think you definitely see difference between how Eastern studios and Western studios treat about these elements.
That's a very good point, actually. I would second you on that. I've seen that as well. That in Asia they're far more advanced with not advanced in the development, but more forthcoming with the adoption and putting it out there in the press.
Yeah, exactly. In terms also some like indie studios, how you see that is like It's similar to like indie studio versus like AAA studios. The smaller studios that are more good at developing new game mechanics, where they are good at where they are just quicker and faster to trying out different new things. So I would expect, those indie studios, they probably highly likely to explore more in terms like new monetizations, etc. And once someone probably figure that out, and then it actually give indicators to those big studios that, okay, this probably can work. And then those big studios may just follow up. Because like big studios, they have like better resource capital to develop games in like a graphics or whatever, but probably they are not quick enough to do all the trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another challenge that we faced in this industry is the fact that there's a lot of traditional gamers that do not like blockchain-based gaming, and they don't want to incorporate crypto or NFTs or any digital aspect or digitization too much, or rather currency use in the game. So how do we win the hearts of these gamers? Because at the end of the day, community is key, right? You need the community members for the game to be successful. So is it just a matter of time? Is it it takes a good use case to come out? So what is the reason for that?
I mean, just make good games, and then players will play, and then the hope is that when they start to touch the blockchain elements in these games, they realize that, oh, actually owning my assets and being able to exchange with friends, being able to trade permissionlessly versus have all these assets that I've put hundreds of dollars into and thousands of hours, and they just exist in this company's database that I can't get access to, even if the game ends. I think that's sort of the hope, but it's just a product thing. We need good products. Like none of the guys at our firm ever played and still really play any blockchain games, right? Just because they can't compete with the games we typically play. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Patrick, you said, like keep the tokenization aspect of it optional, the wallets, the crypto.
Or do it in the background, right? So because every game has an in-game currency anyhow, right? So this is like there are very few games that don't have points or gold coins or whatever they have, right? And so to make those into tokens is not a big leap. You can just do it in the background, and then at some point when you have a certain level and attained a certain amount, and they say, oh, now suddenly you unlock this ability to trade it outside, right? So that would be a way to do it. So maybe you need to play to a certain level to unlock the ability. So then make it part of the game, right? Don't say, okay, now you need to have a wallet and you need to do this and this, and make it complicated. Make it the other way around and say, no, this is like you're playing to get to this level so that you can then trade your goods and make it part. I mean, if you make it part of the gameplay and make it interesting, then people will do it, right? If you make it sort of an additional burden and they say, no, I can't be bothered because I just want to play the game, then it's not going to work.
I would add, like, target the right people. You mentioned Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton did NFTs, of course, but they didn't sell them to like a 50-year-old guy who's been buying a bag every 2 years for his wife. They sold it to his 20-year-old son. So target the right people, and so don't sell it. Don't put NFTs in a game where we're at the 4th or 5th installment and you have a strong community. Build a new one. I think that's also what you should do.
Actually, I have a very controversial view that I think hardcore gamers, they are very difficult to please anyway. And they are most vocal ones. So there are casual players, they may use it, but you don't know it. And so I would say, as a game developer, no matter you are big or not, just know your customer, who you are targeting to, and then engage your community about that. That's a good way, because gamers, they want their voice to be heard. So I would say in that way, shape your products and trying to engage them and educate. Eventually, with the backend technology develops, they probably don't even notice that. But just in general, if you are a developer, you cannot entertain all your players. It's not going to happen anyway.
Absolutely. So it looks like our panel has ran out of time, but thank you so much. I think we had a lot of insight from both sides, from the investor side and for those that are looking to develop or are in the midst or have launched even a game. And if you have any other questions, then you can, I guess, find us around. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable insight on gaming. I think we all agree it's here to stay. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.